We got a matchup of two top 10 bantamweight fighters clashing in the main event. Yadong Song versus Cory Sandhagen. If I'm being honest, I don't even feel that really sums this fight up as clearly as it should, because this fight is really putting the winner on the fast track to the title, in my opinion. I think Yadong Song takes out a lot of men that are ranked in front of him. This is one of the most intriguing fights going down in the division in quite some time. I'm super excited for it. We're coming off another profitable event, and you guys know we're going to find our spots to make money on this card. Let's get into it.
The teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What is up, you guys? Cory Sandhagen taking on Yadong Song this upcoming Saturday. Of course, Cory Sandhagen, the number 4 ranked bantamweight in the world, taking on the number 10 ranked bantamweight fighter in Yadong Song. But as I said, I don't really feel that number 10 ranking sums up who Yadong Song is as a fighter. He's still very young though, so it's not really egregious that he's ranked a little bit lower than he should be. He has plenty of time to work his way towards the top, but he is a dangerous man, and you guys know that Cory Sandhagen is just about as dangerous as it comes in the division as well. So this fight, absolute fireworks written all over it. It's worthy of being a headliner fight. You know, not every fight card can be a giant pay-per-view card, right? This is a very nicely put together fight card, just for another ordinary Saturday with UFC fights taking place. Chidi Njokuani versus Gregory Rodriguez, another fight that has entertainment written all over it. Feely versus Algio is a nice matchup. How about Joseph Pyfer getting rewarded with the fight against Alan Amadovsky on a main card slot? This was without a doubt the UFC giving Pyfer a little bit of a gift for delivering in that main event spot on Dana White's Contender Series when that card was absolutely horrid as a whole, but Pyfer went out there and showed up in the main event. The UFC gives him a gift, and just it shows again, if you go out there and you look to perform, the UFC, they will reward you for those types of moves. I'm excited about Damon Jackson taking on Pat Sabatini. We can really talk about all these fights, and in one way or another, I'm excited about a lot of these fights. You got up and coming prospects. You got the Golden Boy here, 12-0, taking on Trey, Ogden. Getting another step up in competition, I guess you could say, or just another step in front of him that he has to conquer in order to maintain that hype and keep that hype going. Daniel Zellhuber, a very talented lightweight fighter that's on the rise, still very young. And then how about Javid Basharat taking on Tony Gravely? That's a good fight as well. Basharat's brothers fighting in the main event of Dana White's Contender Series that's taking place tonight. And also note, guys, I do have an official play locked in for Dana White's Contender Series tonight. So if you're interested, by the time you hear this, I don't know. I mean, you'll probably hear this after the fights take place, but I'll let you guys know how I do with that official play there. So now you guys know I already have the recap video for UFC 279 posted here. Hopefully you guys already checked that out. If you didn't, I'll just really briefly tell you it was another profitable night. We hit a dog play on Daniel Teolinen, 1.5 unit play at plus 110 odds. We capitalized on the finish that Aldana hit there at 3 units at minus 175, and my one lone loss was a 2-unit play on Darian Weeks, which I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me talk about, but I really felt that was a bad decision there. And you check the significant stats. I thought that Weeks took rounds 2 and 3, and obviously the judges with 2 questionable decisions this past Saturday night, also giving D-Rod the nod there. I mean, if you go to D-Rod's Instagram and check out the comment section, it's brutal. Everybody's just telling him that he lost the fight, but that's not D-Rod's fault, right? D-Rod goes out there, he tries to put on a show. The judges gave him the fight, and he said he's willing to run it back, so props to him. All right, guys, so Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, catch me on all my social media platforms, Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _, Twitter, The MMA Teller. And now we're going to jump into the first fight of the card. Let's go. Nikolas Motta taking on Cameron VanCamp. Fight taking place in the lightweight division. Both fighters coming off losses. Nikolas Motta, he tasted defeat against Jim Miller. We understand at this point that Jim Miller does not age. He gets better as he ages. He's like fine wine. And the loss doesn't look as bad based on the fact that Miller just continues to go on there and look sharper than ever. Motta was going into that fight as the favorite. People had some high regard from him. Training at Nova União for a long time. Now he's over in Vegas. Really brushing shoulders with some of the best of them. If you check out his IG, he's literally training and brushing shoulders with all the top fighters in the game right now that are in Vegas. You love to see that. You definitely have to believe that his game is going to continue to grow. It's funny if you see him over here with Jake Shields and Costa. You guys saw the incident what happened with Combs and Costa. That was probably right around that time over there. Shields grinding it out, making some money. Training some of these younger fighters, and that's a good thing for Shields. Shields really has a lot of information to give. One of the better MMA grapplers that we've ever seen fight. So that'll be important for Motta here too, because Cameron VanCamp is a fighter that favors his grappling, and that's going to be his path to victory, in my opinion. I think that Motta will be a little bit more crisp to the punch in this fight. On the feet, I could see Motta landing a big shot on the feet. I see that happening a lot more likely than VanCamp really doing anything dangerous there. You guys know I like to joke around about the giraffe syndrome type stuff. VanCamp definitely suffers from that. A little bit of a lanky fighter, a little bit slow with his strikes, and sometimes he'll throw some naked kicks out there once in a while. It does leave him vulnerable to being hit with the shot back. And in Cameron VanCamp's UFC debut, did taste defeat against Andre Fialho. Fialho got knocked out there, and we know that Andre is a very dangerous striker. So hard to gauge Cameron just based solely off that fight. But if you do want to run the tape back on Cameron VanCamp, 15-6 as a pro. The loss to Bobby Volker, that was a little bit of a question mark there. Bobby, ex-UFC fighter, but he was way up there in age when they fought, and that's a fight that he should have took. Austin Hubert, a UFC fighter. Not a lot of knockout losses. I mean, you see a knockout loss way back in 2015, a submission loss against Austin Hubert. So showing that he's tough, besides just getting knocked out by Andre Fialho, it's hard to gauge where he is defensively there. But I do think that Motta is live to land some big shots in this fight. And just overall, I'm going to be siding with Motta to get the job done here. I think that he just shows more promise. And I see him being the more crisp striker, and I see him avoiding the danger down on the mat. Now, from a betting standpoint, and real quick, guys, listen up right now. There's a lot of chalk on this card. When you break down tape, there's a lot of chalk throughout this card. There's some hefty favorites. We got some close lines as well, though, which is good. We could pick through those fights that are very close. We have a lot of chalk, though, but we're going to be talking about these betting lines, okay? Now, when we talk about this fight, I think that you got to favor Motta to get the job done. You have to favor that. If you're feeling extremely confident that VanCamp's going to go out there and all of a sudden just look really good. I know he has a little bit of a size advantage in there and whatnot, but he has not looked significantly impressive to me when you break down tape on him. But from a betting standpoint, I'm not necessarily crazy about Motta at a -230 line. And I think that maybe there is more value on Cameron at +185. I would lean more towards that way. But Motta is more likely to get the job done, obviously, coming in as the favorite. But from a betting standpoint, Cameron VanCamp, if you're looking for a dog, if you're just, you're getting reckless, you're feisty, you're just chasing dogs nonstop, I think you would go the VanCamp way. But be a little bit cautious with that, because he has some holes in his game, and Motta is coming into this fight hungry, coming off that loss and training with some of the best of them. I love this fight here, especially taking place in only the second fight on the card. That shows the depth of this card. Tony Gravely, a career martial artist. I guess you can't really talk about him as a prospect these days. He's 30 years old. We remember him as a prospect that was coming into the UFC, training out of American Top Team, a black belt in judo, longtime wrestler. I believe he was a black belt in judo, but I think also a black belt in taekwondo. I mean, he dabbled in a lot of martial arts, but he does have the wrestling background to go along with it, which is first and foremost that's something that you always want to see. You see him over here, training with Pantoja. I do believe that is Pantoja. Yep, Alexandre Pantoja, a very talented fighter in the UFC. But just understand, Gravely has been wrestling for a long time. Check this picture out here of him as a young buck, grinding for a long time with this coach over here. And now, that being said, it's good that he has that wrestling background, but he's not the most physically imposing fighter. And sometimes we've seen him even now grappled by fighters that you would expect him to get the better of. If you remember the loss that he took to, here, we'll run it back, but the fighter, the Welch fighter, I believe it was, who's now fighting over in Bellator, Brett Johns, that was a fight that was really a grueling grappling affair, and eventually he broke in the third round. Now, that was his UFC debut. He was younger at the time, 28 years old, just a little bit more green, and then since then he's been 4-1. And he's been landing some heavy shots on his opponents too. You know that his boxing has came around. He has some power. The big knockout over Anthony Burchak, not a UFC caliber fighter when they fought. The knockout over Johnny Munoz in his last fight, more of a jiu-jitsu player. Javid Basharat is going to be a little bit more of a well-rounded fighter than any of those fighters that he's been in there with as of recently. Basharat, a quick striker, technically sound striker. Definitely sound with his grappling as well. And although Gravely maybe you give Gravely a little bit of edge with the wrestling though, but you mix in the jiu-jitsu factor as well. And Basharat, I don't know, I may give him, I do give him the grappling edge here too. I think if this goes to the mat, I think that Basharat will be a little bit quicker with the transitions. I think he's a little bit quicker with his striking as well. I love the way he works in the leg kicks. Really, really loves to implement the leg kicks into his game. And I gotta lean Javid here. Him and his brother were training for a big fight weekend. Like I said, his brother's fighting on this Dana White's Contender Series main event tonight. Both of them undefeated, fighting out of London shoot fighters for a long time. I believe now they're over in Vegas, over at Extreme Couture. And I am gonna take Javid Basharat. And I am a fan of Tony's. I mean, Tony has came through. He's capitalized for me. I've made money off him, but I got to go with Javid. Javid has also put some money in my pocket, and I just think he'll be a little bit quicker in all aspects of the fight game. But Gravely carries some serious power. He's always live to go out there and get the job done, but I got to go with Javid Basharat there. And right now on Bovada, Javid is a -164 to come back on Gravely at +133. I still would side more towards Javid just because I really like the potential that he has. I think that he's the more promising fighter at this point in time. And -164 is not a ridiculous line, although Gravely is talented. But give me Javid Basharat. And, this is a fight. I do want to bring this up as well. We have seen Gravely just knocked out in a brutal fashion, right, just recently. So it's not out of the realm that Basharat even gets a finish in this fight. Or a sub. Knockout or sub. Mariya Agapova taking on Gillian Robertson. Gillian Robertson, she's been around the block for quite some time now. She's still only 27 years old. Still has room for growth. I do believe that we have not seen the best version of her. I know she's been tasting defeat a little bit as of recently, but real quick, let's run through some of those opponents. She has been being groomed through the UFC, fighting solid competition. Just came off that loss to JJ Aldrich. You guys know I'm a fan of hers. I really like JJ's boxing and striking. You're going to see a lot of grappling competitions going on here. She had the victory over Priscilla Cachoeira where she pulled off that rear naked choke, showcasing her grappling. That is her strength. Her grappling is definitely her strength. A lot of grappling competitions going on here. I don't care if they're losses. It's good to see her staying active in that realm as well, keeping her grappling sharp. The loss to Miranda Maverick, we know she's a solid fighter. Talia Santos, we saw what she just went in there and did, fighting for the title. A lot of you guys thought that she won that fight. So, and the loss to Macy Barber, we know Barber's the real deal. The loss to Mayra Buena Silva, we know she's the real deal. And then don't forget back in the day when she had her own rear naked choke victory over Molly McCann, a fighter that's very hot right now. Back in the day, she was pulling off a lot of subs there. The armbar over Emily Whitmire, rear naked choke over Veronica Macedo. Finishing Sarah Frota down on the mat as well with some ground and pound. The rear naked choke over Courtney Casey. Gillian Robertson, she does have a solid ground game, and Mariya Agapova is a very fluky fighter. It really has came out over time, right? Everybody was so high on her. She was a giant favorite going into the Shayna Dobson fight, and absolutely blew her gas tank, and just got crippled in there, got beaten down. got finished. She came back with the rear naked choke victory over Sabina Mazo, but then in her last fight, put out a very, very questionable performance against Marina Moroz. That was a fight where she did get submitted via arm triangle, and that was a fight where her gas tank gave up on her once again. So I'm siding with Gillian Robertson here. I have to, because Gillian likes to push the pace with the grappling, and I think that there's a very realistic chance that that type of game plan is going to give Agapova some trouble in the later parts of the fight. I could see her just losing her mental once again, just kind of collapsing in there. And I could see Gillian Robertson pulling off a second or third round submission. And Gillian Robertson looking thicker than a Snicker here. Let's see if I could pull up some stuff over here, guys. With the pooch. And Gillian is a fighter that still has a lot of room for growth, and the book is not out on her yet. Give me Gillian Robertson to get the job done this upcoming weekend, get some momentum going. And from a betting standpoint, Gillian is going to be a minus 145 favorite with the comeback at plus 120 on Mariya Agapova. I think that line's pretty accurate. Just understand that if Agapova gets her mind right, and she goes in there and she's able to showcase some of the skills that she does possess, if she's able to ground herself, she is talented with certain aspects of her game. She carries some serious power. She goes in there to take her opponents out, and if she lands like a big knee to the midsection, maybe things get ugly in there. She hits her Gillian with the knee, kind of breaks Gillian mentally early. You could see Mariya have some success as well, but I'm just not a big fan of Agapova's striking from a technical standpoint either. Again, she has that power, but even her technical skills are not that high there. Give me Gillian Robertson, and I'll angle a late finish there. Trey Ogden taking on Daniel Zellhuber, the Golden Boy, the 12-0 young Mexican prospect who is currently 23 years old, just turned 23. When he fought on the show, he was only 22 years old, defeated Lucas Almeida. We definitely have to talk about that fight. In that fight, felt some adversity early in that fight. He was coming in as the favorite. People were high on him, even as young as he was going into that fight. He got cracked with some big shots, and we do now know that his opponent, Lucas Almeida, is the real deal. Since that loss, went off and strung off 2 victories, one in the UFC. It was a big upset where he came in as a dog. We gotta acknowledge the victory that Lucas Almeida, his ex-opponent, just did recently, and that was going out there and knocking out Mike Trizano, and Mike Trizano was a favorite going into that fight. So I wanted to point that out, because that's a big victory that Daniel had there at the age that he went out there and performed like that. Zellhuber is only going to look better this fight, of course, compared to the last fight. It's been a while since he's been in there. It's been about a year, training over at Extreme Couture as well. He's a solid striker. He throws some nasty knees as well. He has the length to go along with those nasty knees. He could definitely touch his opponent's chin. Don't be surprised if you see something wild like that, especially with a guy like Ogden that favors his grappling. And that's going to be his path to victory here. I definitely think that Ogden's going to be pushing the pace with his wrestling and grappling and try to kind of break Zellhuber with his veteran grappling skills. In his UFC debut, he lost a close fight to Jordan Levitt. It was on him, though. He really let that fight play it a lot closer than it should have. He kind of let it out there. He could have took that fight. Some people thought that he won that fight, but no matter how you spin it, it's his fault for letting it play out like that. I do believe that Trey Ogden has been training with James Krause for quite some time. He's 32 years old, about to be 33. 20 professional fights. I mean, have we really seen the best of him at this point in time? When you break down tape on him, you kind of know who he is already. Nothing really too exhilarating on the feet. Daniel should be much better there. I expect to see major strides in Daniel's game from the last fight to this fight. Gotta ride with the young Golden Boy. Kind of reminds me of a Ryan Garcia, right? The young boxer. The young Mexican boxer, I believe undefeated and all that. So, I like the hype behind Daniel. I love a fighter that brings some new attention to the game, and definitely going with the youngster here. From a betting standpoint, let's pull up the line on this. Daniel is a minus 265 favorite. That is a hefty line there with the comeback and Ogden at plus 212, who's going to look to try to use his grappling to make to dole this fight out and get the job done somehow with that type of route going down. I think that Daniel will be up to par, stuffing those takedowns, keeping this fight on the feet. long enough to land some significant shots to sway the judges his way if he doesn't even get a finish. I like the youngster here. Give me Daniel Zellhuber. It's a high line. What are you going to do with that? I mean, you would have to throw it in a parlay. I don't know if you necessarily want to take him via knockout. I mean, Ogden is a tough customer. He's been subbed, but I don't know if Daniel's going to go out there and sub him. Those 5 losses that he's had, he's actually been submitted quite a few times there. Submitted by Thomas Gifford twice, submitted by Nick Brown. But real quick, I just want to pull this up for you guys real quick. Daniel, out of his 12 victories, had the calf slicer. I don't really see him going out there pulling off a calf slicer, triangle choke, but not an extensive history of going out there and getting the sub. I'd favor more a knockout if there was a finish, or TKO, something like that. And Ogden's pretty tough when it comes to taking a shot. So just want to touch upon those points there, but give me the youngster to get the job done. Loma Lookboonmee taking on Denise Gomes. Denise only 22 years old. Kind of crazy. She has a little bit of an older look to her. 6-1, 7 pro fights. Compared to Loma's 6-3 record, but of course we do know that Loma has an extensive Muay Thai background. She's been in competition for a long time, since she was very young, and she's always game to go out there and put on a good fight. I love Loma's stand-up. Sometimes in her fights, she tends to be undersized, and she has some problems there. Angela Hill was able to kind of land some nice shots from the outside, mixing things up as well with the takedown. Lupita Godinez also getting a good amount of takedowns in that fight, using her wrestling to get that victory over Loma. So again, of course, you're going to know that a girl like Loma, who is a Muay Thai practitioner coming into MMA, is going to have to get her grappling and her takedown defense to catch up to her striking game. But if she's able to keep the fight standing, she's a very talented fighter. All right. I mean, when she's in her groove and she's flowing, there's not a lot of women that are going to really keep up with her there. I mean, there's some that, of course, that are. She's not like the best striker in the division. But when you're talking about a fighter coming in, making her UFC debut, she put on an impressive performance on Dana White's Contender Series. She did showcase some solid striking. She has some good power. She has a good killer instinct. But I'm still going to favor that Loma will be poised there and will be able to outpoint her. And I don't say that super confidently. But I do think that Loma has the edge there. And I have a feeling that Loma is going to be able to keep this fight standing against Denise here. I do like Loma to get the job done here. She's only 26 years old, so also keep in mind that her ground game and her takedown defense and all that still has plenty of time to catch up to her striking. She has plenty of time to evolve her game. She's putting in the work. You saw her over there with was that Courtney Casey, I believe, the Scottish fighter, and she's a good grappler. Hopefully they're getting some rounds in together. I do favor Loma to get the job done here. However, from a betting standpoint, Loma's line is very high here. She's a -250 over Denise Gomes. I think that Gomes is decently live for an upset here, and at plus 200 odds. I was a little surprised to see the line like that. I think that line's slightly off. I thought that Loma would be more like a 2-1 favorite, -200 favorite or something like that. You keep an eye on that line, and it's women's mixed martial arts. It's an interesting fight. It's a tricky fight, and but I still will pick Loma to get the job done, outpointing Denise on the feet, keeping this fight standing. Staying on the women's side of things, but bumping up to the bantamweight division, we got Aspen Ladd taking on Sara McMann. Very intriguing matchup here. Sara McMann, almost 42 years old, while Aspen Ladd just 27. Aspen Ladd losing 3 of her last 4 fights, losing to Germaine de Randamie, where she had a little bit of, we're going to be talking about this more. We talk about giraffe syndrome. We got to talk about deer syndrome, right? Deer in the headlight syndrome. Some of these fighters have that. Aspen Ladd did showcase that she has a slight case of deer syndrome. Completely froze up, got cracked by Germaine de Randamie in that fight. Then she came back with the victory over Yana Kunitskaya. That was a big victory for her. She landed a big shot in the feet herself. Then loses to Norma Dumont and Raquel Pennington. 2 fighters that have proven to be tough outings, solid fighters there. So, I'm personally, I'm not turning my back on Aspen Ladd, although wait to hear my pick here, but I'm not turning my back on her. I think that she still shows promise to be a tough competitor in the division. We know she's very physically strong. She's always hiking up in the mountains and all that. And you see her getting in some training work over here. We see Anthony Hernandez in front of her. She's getting it in over here. And and let me tell you what, though, man, Sara McMann still looks to be in phenomenal shape. I was very impressed with how Sara looked in that last fight against Karol Rosa. Karol Rosa hasn't been looking the greatest as of recently, but she's proven in the past to be a solid fighter, a well-rounded fighter. And I was impressed. Sara McMann did more than just showcase her wrestling. She looked to be pretty powerful and crisp with her striking too. She's been putting in a lot of work with her boxing and working on her hands. And you know what? When it comes to the wrestling exchanges, it's kind of hard not to side with Sara McMann, an Olympic, a silver medalist. Give me Sara McMann here. Give me Sara McMann here. The slight underdog at plus 110 with the comeback on Aspen Ladd at minus 130. Give me Sara McMann here. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that she's going to look to be the same type of fighter that she was in her last fight, that age doesn't just rapidly catch up with her quickly here. And I'm going to say Sara McMann is super confident going into this fight. She'll string off some wrestling. She'll land some big shots in the feet. And don't be shocked if you see a little bit of deer syndrome affect Ladd at times. Her defensive skills are lacking at times. She usually can take a shot. I know she was knocked out by Jermaine Durandamy, but she really got clipped there. But she has a big old noggin. She could take a shot, but I could expect to see Sara McMann land some nice boxing shots, some nice shots with her hands on the feet as well. Give me Sara McMann to get the job done, and it would be pretty cool if the old woman can get the job done there. Trevin Giles taking on Luis Cosce. Luis Cosce, I believe the slightly younger brother of Orion Cosce, a fighter that we just saw get a victory, an official play of mine. It was a tough fight, squeaked it by, took 2 of the 3 rounds there. You know how the Cosce brothers are, man. These guys came from Dana White's Contender Series. They go out there. They've had a little bit of issues, both of them, with really trying to blow their load in the first round, really going for the knockout early, and at times it costing them. They kind of slow down a little bit. Hopefully both of them are working on pacing themselves a little bit more so. They both have the wrestling background. Cosce will have that wrestling background, but Giles is up to par there as well. Giles is a fighter that when he puts it together, he's a very talented, athletic fighter. He's a well-rounded fighter. He has some good striking. But as of recently, taking two losses in a row, getting knocked out by Dricus du Plessis and Michael Morales. Good competition there, but you still have to wonder where he's at mentally, getting knocked out in both of those fights. And then you got a guy like Luis Cosce who's going to be coming in there looking to start you once again. And I believe he was knocked out early in the Michael Morales fight as well. So I'm curious to know what his mental state is. Luis Cosce also was knocked out in his last fight against Sasha Palatnikov, my boy. But understand that in that fight, Luis Cosce went out there and really threw the kitchen sink at Sasha. Sasha weathered all that, played that fight very intelligently, and then ended up taking him out there, using his technical skills on the feet to kind of just wear Cosce out, hitting him with T-kicks to the midsection, working his boxing, just mixing it up beautifully. And I think that was a major learning experience for Luis, though. Luis Cosce had to have learned from that fight that you can't go in there and just blow your load that early. You got to pace yourself. Now, I think that there's a good opportunity for him to get that early knockout. So you don't want to pace yourself too much. You do want to go in there and press Giles right now, coming off those 2 knockout losses, but do it the right way. And don't put yourself in a vulnerable situation where you're just not the fighter that you could be in the later rounds, and you just get picked apart by a fighter like Giles, who is talented and can do that. There's some similarities to Giles and Palatnikov to an extent, both lengthy fighters for the division and whatnot. You see Cosce over here getting in some work with one of the best fighters around this respected weight in Arman Sarukian, a fighter that I'm very high on, fighter that I thought won his last fight, kind of got robbed a little bit in my opinion. Not robbed, I shouldn't say robbed, close fight. Should have got the nod there, but didn't. And you know what? Luis Cosce, real quick, I'm gonna pick Luis Cosce to win this fight, and you guys know he's a dog, but besides the loss to Sasha, he's had a lot of time to go back to the drawing board. That fight was at the end of 2020. I was impressed with him in that fight against Victor Reina. Victor Reina is a good fighter. That was in the main event spot of that Dana White's Contender Series card. He's went out there, had a lot of first round knockouts. I think he's, of course, live for that first round knockout. But I do like the fact that he went into the 3rd round with Sasha, and that was a grueling experience for him. I don't expect him to look amazing in the later rounds, but I do expect to see a better version of himself there. Looks to be in good shape. Talk about a guy that can really push the pace, Arman Sarukian. Hopefully he's learned some things from him. Give me the dog here. Give me Cosce to get the job done. It's a close fight. And I could easily see Cosce running into some trouble late in this fight. Like I said, a fighter, excuse me here. Let me see if I can find this betting line. Hopefully, yeah, here it is. A fighter like Giles is a fighter that is athletic and talented and can land some big shots. If you slow down and you get sloppy with your striking, Giles can land a big shot on you and finish you. But at a minus 210 line, I'm not really crazy about it with him coming off those 2 losses. We'll see where his mental's at, and just understand that Cosce, Louis Cosce, and the Cosce brothers are cut a little bit from a different cloth, and they're tough. They gotta up their skill set a little bit more so, but they're very tough dudes. And I think that Cosce can go out there and get the job done. Give me Cosce. Damon Jackson taking on Pat Sabatini. Two fighters, that favor their grappling. Do believe that is the strength of both these fighters. Both fighters have a nice solid, resume as far as their pro records go. Pat Sabatini with 20 pro fights. Damon Jackson at 26 pro fights. He's fought over in PFL. He's been in the UFC for quite some time at this point now. Coming off a big victory where he was able to go out there and take out the smaller Daniel Argueta. A very tough outing. He was undefeated going into that fight, but yes, Daniel Argueta really is a bantamweight fighter. But Damon Jackson, just in my opinion, still impressed based on the fact that he was hurt at times, went back to his grappling, and was still able to out-grapple a very tough wrestler in Argueta. Damon Jackson, he has a knack for going out there and pulling off the upset. We just talked about a fighter like that who I just picked to win his fight in Julian Erosa. These fighters had the knack for going out there and pulling off the upset. For some reason, they're disrespected a little bit with their fighting styles, but just understand that if Damon Jackson's opponents slow down a little bit, or if they're lacking with their grappling, Damon will go out there and he will grab a hold of you and he'll make it a long night for you. That being said, you want to talk about a fighter that is up to par with this grappling. I mean, speak no more. Speak no more. The man's name is Pat Sabatini. This guy is a beast. Look at this picture right here. You're talking about some big-time talent to the right of him. Sean Brady, Andre Petrosky, Jeremiah Wells, Joseph Pfeiffer. Excuse me for not knowing this guy's name. Let's pull him up. Let's see who this guy is. Who is this guy? Not going to lie, I'm not really too well-versed with Eddie Torres, but I'm sure he's a talented fighter as well. He looks familiar to me, actually. I think I have seen him fight over at CFFC. It looks like he's going to be fighting Bruce Leroy. All right, let me not stray away here. You guys know what I'm talking about. But the point I was making is Pat Sabatini is getting it in right now with some of the best of them, and he already is one of the hottest fighters in the game. And look at this right here. Training out of the Henzo Gracie Philly area gym over there. I mean, these guys have really been doing it. As you see, these guys have all been going in there and just absolutely killing it. The Henzo Gracie Philly guys are all still undefeated in the UFC. Pretty crazy, right? Pat Sabatini can push a pace with the best of them. Damon Jackson could as well, but I got to still edge Sabatini in those grappling exchanges. I'm very high on Jackson there, but got to lean Sabatini still. I know Sabatini's a smaller guy, but he's a tank of a man, and I'm very interested to see those transitions take place. I really want to see them go to the mat and see who thrives down there. On the feet, we did see Damon Jackson hurt in his last fight. Got clipped on the feet against Argueta, and Argueta kind of made the mistake of going in to try to grapple with him after hurting him. Sabatini's a guy that striking's coming around. Maybe he smart enough to keep it on the feet and land a big shot up there. Maybe he gets a knockout. Damon Jackson was knocked out brutally by Ilia Topuria, and was also knocked out, I believe, over in PFL in a really devastating fashion as well. Yeah, it was. It was the jumping knee by Movlid Kabuliev. Excuse me there. But if you guys remember that knockout, if you haven't seen it, go pull it up. It was one of the most disgusting knockouts you will ever see. It was beautiful, actually. I shouldn't even say disgusting. It was beautiful. It was disgusting and beautiful. Just a perfectly timed jumping knee as Jackson was going in. I would love to see Sabatini mix in something like that if Jackson tries to shoot. Give me Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini's a stud, but I also have a lot of respect for Jackson. Like I said, I'm excited to see this fight play out. I am siding with Sabatini, though, and Sabatini is going to be a 2-1 favorite to come back on Jackson at plus 154. That's an accurate line. You're going to have to cough up a 2-1 odds on Sabatini here against a tough customer in Damon Jackson. I still would favor more so taking Pat at the 2-1 line, I feel, than attacking the value, just because I really do have a great deal of respect for Pat. But Damon's the bigger dude. I talked about the fact that he has a knack for pulling off the upset. I don't know if he's going to be able to get the better of those grappling exchanges. One thing I will note as well, Pat Sabatini did drop the third round, kind of slowed down once before in a fight with the grueling grappling pace. He was up clearly 2 rounds though, and that was against Tucker Lutz, the fight before his last, and shown tricks too down in the mouth, the heel hook, but he did slow down that Tucker Lutz fight, but he knew he was up 2, and he kind of gave that third round in. But you slow down with a guy like Jackson, he'll take advantage of that. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Marc-André Barriault. This is a very nicely matched up fight. Both fighters coming off victories. These guys were destined to battle with each other. Some similarities between the two. Well-rounded fighters that can really push the pace. Very tough. Anthony Hernandez went out there, took on Josh Fremd. I believe Josh Fremd took that fight on short notice. Went out there, really pushed the pace on him. Before that, defeated Rodolfo Vieira, but remember, Vieira blew his load early, and then props to Hernandez for going in there submitting the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt ace, but he absolutely gassed out, did his opponent. Before that, knocked out by Kevin Holland. Victory over Jung Young Park. That was a fight he was losing badly before pulling off that anaconda choke, but showing he could dig deep, has good cardio, and then submitted by Marcus Perez with an anaconda choke before that. If you remember his fight on Dana White's Contender Series, he also had a nice knockout victory over Jordan Wright. Marc-André Barriault is a fighter that really pushes the pace on his opponents. But like I said, Hernandez has good cardio, so I don't think he's not going to break him like that, in my opinion. Marc-André's striking has been coming around, been putting in a lot of work over at Sanford MMA, and I think this is a very close matchup here. Something that Marc-André does very good is that he'll push the pace in his opponent. He'll push him up against the cage and kind of slow the fight down, kind of keep the fight in his realm, keeps it where he does well, and kind of edges his opponents. This will be interesting though, because Hernandez does a lot of things that are good, that in a similar fashion. So I'm kind of interested to see how they match up there. That being said, of course, I think that Hernandez is obviously very live to get the job done. In fact, he's coming in as the favorite in this fight. I'm actually going to be picking Marc-André Barriault to get the job done here. I think that he's hungry right now. I really was impressed with the performance that he just put on in his last fight after coming off that devastating loss to Chidi Njokuani, who we really know now is a stud. He bounced back in a great way. And I like the cojones that he had, getting knocked out by Chidi like that and then coming back in the cage just a couple weeks later. It's not always the right decision, but when you go out there and you perform like he did against Jordan Wright, going out there and just running right through him, and now he's had some time since that knockout loss and he's got his confidence back. I do like him. I do like the momentum he has. He has to be careful. Anthony Hernandez does possess power with his boxing. He has to make sure he doesn't get clipped with the shot there. Hernandez will have a 2-inch reach advantage, even though he's an inch shorter. But give me Marc-André still. Give me Marc to get the job done. And right now, Anthony Hernandez is a -175 favorite, with Marc-André being a +145 dog. We'll throw another dog at you guys. You guys know we picked a lot of dogs correct on the last card. A lot of dogs, right? We threw a lot of dogs at you guys. They all came through. I think 3 or 4 dogs. So we'll see if that's the case in this card. Tanner Boser taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. Tanner Boser is coming off a big victory where he was able to go out there and get that knockout over OSP, a very old and somewhat washed up OSP. Before that, losses to Ilir Latifi and Andrei Arlovsky, 2 very disappointing losses for Boser. Going into the Arlovsky fight, he had a lot of momentum behind him. He was going out there, knocking dudes out, knocked out Rafael Pessoa, knocked out Felipe Lins. He showed to be a tough customer. Had a tough fight with Cyril Gahn, which kind of showed the potential that he has as well. Typically, Gahn just goes out there and finishes guys, styles on them. Boser looked good in that fight to an extent. But Boser is a very questionable fighter, in my opinion. You don't really know what you're going to get from him. This is not a fighter that you can really rely on. Nor do I necessarily believe Nascimento is that fighter as well. Nascimento, a very talented jiu-jitsu player, but his striking has really came around over time. I like the level that his hands, the level of skill that his hands have rose to compared to how they were just not too long ago. Definitely got to talk about the elephant in the room, coming off that victory over Alan Budat, where he faced some adversity but ended up really putting it on Budat. He had that standing TKO over him, and that was coming off the knockout loss against Chris Daukaus. which I do have to say was one of the craziest dog hits I've ever had. If you guys remember that one, he was about a plus 265. We hit big on that. I made some big money on that fight there. But you did like to see Nascimento bounce back looking the way that he did in the cage, but you didn't like to hear about the controversy as he tested positive for retinoic acid after his TKO win. But he is now cleared from USADA. And I do believe that Nascimento is a talented fighter. If he puts it all together, he's a talented fighter. Can give anybody a tough time. If this fight goes down to the mat, which I don't know if I see it going down there, he does have some jiu-jitsu skills, but I see these guys throwing down on the feet. And, Rodrigo has shown defensive flaws in his game. I really do believe that. Tanner Boser, you could say what you want about him dropping the ball as far as freezing up, not putting a lot of volume out and whatnot. But as far as his chin, it's pretty solid, at least as of recently. And Rodrigo Nascimento got knocked out by Chris Daukaus in that fight, felt some adversity from Allen early in that fight. And I think that Boser's live for a knockout victory here, in my opinion. Nascimento will have a 4-inch reach advantage. Both men 6'2", but Tanner, he has good footwork when he uses it well. He'll close the distance. He'll land some big shots. If the solid version of Boser shows up, I think he gets the job done. He's a minus 186 favorite right now. You don't know what kind of version you're going to get. If the real Boser comes, would you please stand up? Please stand up. If he shows up, I think that Boser should handle business in here. But understand that Rodrigo is a dangerous fighter as well. It's the heavyweight division. Rodrigo can land a big shot as well and stir things up. So it's a dangerous fight, but I gotta lean Boser. I gotta give the nod to Boser to get the job done. And I'll say maybe he gets that knockout in the first or second round. Boy, is Joseph Pyfer's nickname fitting for this fight. Body bags. Get the body bag out. We can start throwing Alan Abdovsky's body in that body bag. Put some weights in there, put some chains, and throw that into the Atlantic Ocean. Amadovsky coming off 3 losses in a row, got styled on by Jocko, got knocked out by John Phillips. John Phillips, good boxing skills, but not a fighter that's near on the level. Got knocked out by him, and then had another opportunity to fight Joseph Holmes, who's coming off a very unimpressive performance against a guy that I just faded and capitalized on. Don't do it to me. What's his name now? Oh man, my memory these days, it's just storing all these fighters' names in my memory. Of course, it was because now I'm going to get it regardless. And if I just slowed down and thought about it, I'd think about it in 2 seconds. But Jamie Pickett, but I'm on the move here. But Jamie Pickett went out there and styled on Joseph Holmes, showing the level of Joseph Holmes' skills at the moment. He still has room for growth, but Joseph Holmes went out there and styled on Amadovsky. There's major question marks about Amadovsky. He's going to be significantly shorter in this fight, significantly smaller. I mean, I know the reach is close, but 4 inches shorter. Pyfer is a stud. I really do believe that. Pyfer is a stud. I like his physique. I like his well-roundedness. I like the power he possesses. I really do believe that Pyfer is a legit fighter. And this was him getting the knockout on the show on the first episode of the season. And, great to see Pyfer thriving right now, getting some attention. He was, I think, living in his car or something. He was really down and out not too long ago. He's getting a lot of momentum. The UFC, like I said earlier, they gifted him this fight. He's going to go out there. He's going to get a knockout over Amadovsky, in my opinion. Amadovsky, 34 and a half years old. I've seen what I need to see from him. Now, I will say this. Amadovsky is a fighter that looks to go out there and knock his opponents out. He's going to throw some stuff back at Pyfer, but Pyfer will be up to par there, in my opinion, and will land a solid shot. He's going to land a solid shot. Let me see. Let me look at this little melon real quick. Pyfer is going to land a shot right about here, if you could see my cursor. A little bit under the left eye, and maybe a little bit more on this side right here. And he's not going to like it. He's going to collapse. He's going to fold, and you're going to see a TKO happen after. All right, so Pyfer to get the finish, get the knockout. First round knockout. We'll take the first round. We'll get feisty. And from a betting standpoint, let me pull up the betting line now, guys. Settle down over there. All right, from a betting standpoint, Pyfer a minus 450. And let's go check out MMA odds real quick. Let's see how this line has moved. Pyfer opened up at around a minus 380 on DraftKings, now a minus 425. So a little bit of movement coming in on him as well, even when the line was already high to begin with. Andre Feely taking on Bill Algeo. This is a very nice matchup as well. Both these guys remind me of themselves in a couple different ways. Good cardio, lengthy, scrappy fighters. Bill Algeo coming off 2 victories where he took out Herbert Burns and Joe Anderson Brito. Speaking of Joe Anderson Brito just had that big upset victory over Andre Fili. We know that Brito has that big power, especially early in his fights, and Fili made some mistakes there, and obviously it cost him. I think that Fili that definitely knows what he did wrong there and how he should have went about fighting that fight differently, and it is what it is. Before that, he was absolutely stunting on Daniel Pineda, accidental eye poke, but he was in there brutalizing Pineda in that fight. Before that, he got ragdolled by Bryce Mitchell. I don't see Bill Algeo doing something similar to that. I know Bill Algeo does have some grappling skills, but we know that the country bumpkin is on a different level out there over in, what's he in, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas. How can I forget? Arkansas. He's got his shorts ready to go, and a big shout out to Bryce Mitchell, who, for being honest, looks a little bit like a Ellen DeGeneres type of dude, but he's a tough dude, and he goes out there and he delivers. He's a funny guy. And back to this fight, Bill Algeo, a lot of Muay Thai experience. Andre Fili, in my opinion, will be a little bit more crisp and a little bit more quick with his shots. Algeo can be a little bit tricky at times. So I'm not going to say that for sure Fili goes out there and dominates in the striking, but I do edge him there. I think he's the better striker, but he's kind of awkward. He has a weird type of striking style. He'll throw, those little tester kicks, at the shin, kind of try to hyperextend your knee, throw some, sets up his head kicks nice. And, I think that he's live to land a big shot, of course, because of the fact that Fili was just knocked out in a bad way 4 months ago. But I'm going to say that Fili, puts it together here. I'm going to take Andre Fili. This guy has grown up in the UFC, the long-time Team Alpha Male product. Looks to be in phenomenal shape. I expect him to be more hungry than ever. I really do. I expect him to be as hungry as ever, and he's going to come in here being the best version of himself. Barring he doesn't get clipped with the shot and his body gives out on him, I think that he gets the job done. I really do. You see him running these sprints up these hills right now. I bet you he's running more than ever and really making sure his cardio is good and just making sure no stone has gone unturned. So, give me Andre Fili to get the job done. And from a betting perspective, let's take a look at this line. You're going to see a very close line here. Andre Fili in -120 with the comeback on Bill Algeo at even odds. Even though Fili's coming off the tough loss and Bill Algeo's coming off some victories, slightly in Fili's way, as do I agree with Fili, and obviously with a close line like this, I'm going to edge Fili from a betting perspective. 2 extremely talented middleweights throwing down here. Chidi Njokuani taking on Gregory Rodriguez. Chidi Njokuani, been watching him fight for a very long time. Specifically was watching his brother even way before. Anthony Njokuani, longtime WEC fighter. Chidi, the younger brother, although he's bigger. And Chidi is a very well-rounded fighter. I believe a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I do believe that he has the Muay Thai skills to go along with his freakish physical frame for the division. He's an absolute stud, and it's great to see that Dana White's Contender Series gave him an opportunity to showcase his skills and gave him the platform to explode onto the UFC fight scene. He really has exploded since that Mario Souza knockout victory. Went out there, he knocked out Marc-André Barriault, and just recently knocked out Dusko Todorovic. You guys know I had 2 official plays locked in on Chidi there, so I got a lot of love and respect for him. We had him via knockout in that fight and via decision, money liner, and he came through for me. He's 33 years old. Gregory Rodriguez is 30 years old. At times, Gregory can get a little feisty with his striking and leave himself open a little bit. At times, he's willing to take a couple shots to land some on you. He's very aggressive. He's very well-rounded. He has some big-time power. We saw his aggressiveness cost him a little bit with the fight, and in the Dana White's Contender Series fight, the first time around where he fought, Jordan, the diabetic fighter, Jordan. Let me pull it up for you guys real quick, where he lost to, of course, it wasn't his last 5 fights, but we'll run through his resume real quick anyway. He had that loss against Jordan Williams, who's since been cut, but then had a couple big victories over in LFA, taking out Al Matavo, Josh Fremd. Then he went in there, defeated Dusko Todorovic, defeated Jung Young Park. Then he had the tough loss to Armand Petrosian, which a lot of people thought that he won that fight. In fact, the majority thought that he edged that fight. So that should be a victory. It could be a victory, whatever. It was an impressive performance. And then he goes out there and starches Julian Marquez, a guy that's known for having a chin. Boy, this is a really, really tough fight to pick. And then the line is very accurate, as, of course, it's a close line. Nothing but respect to Chidi. Like I said, man, Chidi came through for me last time. Chidi's a well-rounded fighter, but you know what? I've been very high on Gregory Rodriguez. He's still a little bit younger as well. I think there's some room for growth. You like how I combine those words? Sometimes I'm going so quickly. Room for growth, a roomth. Next time I say a roomth, just know what I'm talking about, because we're going to start making up our own words as we're sliding through these videos. You see him over here with the man, Henry Hooft. You guys know I'm a giant fan of Henry's. I hope that Henry is working with him on the defensive side of things when it comes to the striking. Of course, offensively, he's a beast. I'm going to be picking Gregory Rodriguez to win the fight. I think this is going to be a barn burner type of affair. Someone's going to land a big shot in this fight. Maybe you see some type of chaos. Maybe Gregory gets on top, uses some of his underrated jiu-jitsu and grappling as well. Although Chidi has some underrated grappling and jiu-jitsu as well also. So this fight's awesome. This fight is awesome. Chidi with the 4-inch reach advantage, both men 6'3". Give me Gregory Rodriguez. He's just a stud. And although Chidi's a stud as well, I really like Gregory. It's a pick 'em on Bovada, -110, -110. A common theme with Gregory as of recently, they're throwing him in there with some tough opponents, really throwing him to the fire. They know he's not really a spring chicken, so they're trying to make him prove himself quickly if he's going to try to make a run in this division. And give me Gregory Rodriguez to win a crazy type of affair. You guys, if you didn't know, we had a crazy year last year, almost profiting 80 units on the year. This year, we're creeping up right around that 50 unit marker right now. So it's guaranteed to be another profitable year for the teller here. I feel very, very good about that news. Again, we only have a couple months left in the year. So unless just an absolute catastrophe happens towards the end of the year, which is not happening, it's another profitable year. If you guys are on the fence about joining me, working with me, think you're slacking there. Reach out to me if you want my official plays. It will more than pay off. I'm going to be doing a video on the amount of units you would have made, or the amount of profit you would have made depending on your unit system, so you have an idea what you're going to be making if you just stick to my structured system, okay? And if you want to test out what I'm about, I'm willing to give you my official plays for free for this upcoming fight card if you sign up to bovada.lv with my referral link. You have nothing to lose. It's the best sportsbook out there. I'm going to send you over my referral link. You're going to get an extra bonus added into your account, which you could use. I highly recommend you take advantage of those bonuses. And Bovada.lv, they give you legit bonuses, not like some of these other fake websites like betonline.ag and some of these other ones. They give you a bonus. Let's say they give you a $100 bonus. They say you deposit 100 to give you an additional 100. When you take that 100 on some of these other websites and you place your bet, say that $100 is to win $63, $60. They give you the $60 in your account, and that $100 dissipates. Whereas when it comes to Bovada.lv, that bonus money they give you is legit. There's a slight rollover on it, but we're out here betting anyway. When you make your $100 bet and you win the 63, then you now have that $163 right back in your account. Be smart. If you have any questions about this type of stuff, reach out to me. I've been doing this for almost my whole life at this point in time. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what I'm talking about. If you guys are new to the game, reach out to me and I will give it to you guys straight. You guys got my word on that. All right. That's what I'm all about. You guys know that I'm about being transparent with you guys, helping you guys out as much as I could. And, we're all in this together. So reach out to me if you're interested for that referral link, or if you want my official plays. All right, guys, here we go. Two of the top bantamweight fighters in the world. As talked about before, you got Cory Sandhagen, ranked the number 4 bantamweight fighter in the world, only behind a couple of men here, Petr Yan, TJ Dillashaw, 2 men that he's just recently lost to. Merab, obviously making some movement recently. And then you slide all the way down and you got Yadong Song at 10. But, I think Yadong Song is taking out Pedro Munoz. I think he's knocking out Dominic Cruz. I think he's taking out Rob Font. I think he's taking out Jose Aldo. He already beat Marlon Vera, although that was a very close matchup. Some people thought that Vera should have got the victory there. So again, Yadong is right in the mix right here, man. He gets this victory right now. Forget about it. I mean, this is very big for his career. I love this fight. This is a fight. I call this a popcorner. This is the type of fight. That's another one added to the books, guys. Write this down. You're going to hear these words. We're going to be added to the Webster's, the Teller's dictionary. This is a popcorner fight. This is a fight that I'm just excited to be sitting on the couch watching. I don't need to have a beer. I don't need to be drinking. It doesn't matter. I want to watch these guys throw down. I want to watch their the talents that both these guys possess clash inside the octagon. I cannot wait to see this fight take place. Cory Sandhagen coming off 2 losses. We talked about it. TJ Dillashaw and Petr Yan just defeated him, 2 of the best fighters in the world. The TJ Dillashaw fight, some people thought that Sandhagen did enough. He struggled at times with the wrestling, with TJ pushing the pace on him. He pushed a very, very heavily wrestling-oriented type of fighting style. Yadong Song, a very well-rounded fighter. I would say more so favors his striking. He's going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage from a length standpoint. He's going to have to close the distance, but Yadong Song does that very, very well. As of recently, Yadong Song, knocking out Marlon Moraes, knocking out Julio Arce, went to a split decision with Casey Kenny, a tough fighter. Had the loss against Kyler Phillips. That was a good fight, close fight. And then the Marlon Vera fight we talked about, that was 2 years ago and 3 months ago. Take note, Yadong Song is only 24 years old, about to be 25. So these fights we're talking about against these top-level guys, some of these fights, he was 22 years old. You got to take note of that. Talk about growth in one's game. I mean, Yadong Song has been fighting since he's a kid. This guy he's been ready. He's been being trained to be on the big show. He already has 26 pro fights at the age of 24. It's crazy. Haven't seen any type of issues as far as him taking a shot either, so not like he's getting worn out. He's still young. He's crisp. Cory Sandhagen, we got to talk about the mental lapse he had in the Aljamain Sterling fight as well. I think at times Cory Sandhagen does suffer from a very, very slight case of deer syndrome. If you think about it, maybe some of you guys forgot about like the Yuri Alcantara fight. I believe it was Yuri Alcantara, right? That was the fight where, Yuri Alcantara, he eventually did finish him in the second round, but Alcantara almost finished him in the first round. He froze up a little bit, got hit on pretty bad there. The Lineker fight was close. He went in there, he hit Frankie Edgar with the flying knee. Frankie's way past his prime. Marlon Moraes, way past his prime, but again, Yadong Song just took advantage of him there as well. So, Cory Sandhagen, a very, very well-rounded fighter. He has beautiful jiu-jitsu, beautiful striking. He has a crazy frame to go along with all that. Yadong Song, though, is going to be the quicker fighter here, in my opinion. He's going to be quicker to the punch. He's extremely technically sound. He's coming around with his physical skills as well. He's turning into a man slowly. He's shadow boxing over here in the sunset. He's getting it in. And I'm going to be taking the dog out for a walk here. Taking the leash off the hook, right in the kitchen, strapping it on the neck there, and I'm taking a nice little stroll. Got my poopy bag in my left side, and I'm ready to roll here. I'm taking the dog out for a walk, guys. I'm gonna cut to the chase. I'm making it seem like it's easier. It was easy for me to make that decision. That's not the case. If I'm being quite honest, I initially did have Cory to win this fight, and you guys know I'm very high on Cory. But the more I broke down tape on these guys, I see Yadong Song. I see him growing with his skill set more rapidly at this point in time than Cory Sandhagen. Now, Cory Sandhagen's still way up there, but I see Yadong Song's stock going up more so, and I expect to see the best version that we've ever seen from him for sure at his age and all that. And Cory Sandhagen has been hit and it's been touched up a little bit on the feet, and we saw that he had some issues with his wrestling a little bit, getting TJ Dillashaw off of him in that fight. I don't know if Yadong Song maybe controls him a little bit against the cage, breaks off, lands some nice shots. Give me Yadong Song, who is the plus 163 underdog with the comeback in Cory at minus 200, the 2-1 favorite. Give me Yadong Song. I don't think you can go wrong there picking a guy like Yadong Song, a guy that's just extremely talented. This is a toss-up, but the line's off in my opinion. I wouldn't really be targeting Cory at minus 200. At a minus 200 line, in my opinion. So, yes, give me Yadong Song to get the job done here and to really make a statement. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up Sandhagen versus Song. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I actually really did. As you guys can tell, the caffeine is running through me, and I was just really enjoying talking about all these different fights here. I'm excited for this fight card. I truly am excited for this fight card. This is a sleeper fight card, or maybe not even a sleeper. Maybe we're all awake to it. This is going to be a good one. With that being said, I got to leave you guys with some parting words. Please hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. What I would like to tell you guys is hopefully you guys are you're being a good person out there. One thing I've noticed as I've gotten older is that it feels good to treat people good. And I truly mean that. Some of you guys, maybe you're at a little bit more of a rough times in your life and you don't really want to hear this right now, but try it out. I wish it was something that I tried out a little bit earlier in my life, because when I was younger, I was definitely a different type of guy, and I was a little bit more cold-blooded, and I don't know, something about getting older maybe. But if you guys can jump on it earlier, you'll feel better about yourself if you treat other people good out and about. If you're out and about, if someone needs help, depending on the situation too, don't be a fool. Don't put yourself in vulnerable situations. But if it's the right situation, it feels good to help people out. It truly does. And try it once in a while. Try being a good person. I think that you'll feel better about yourself, and if you feel better about yourself, you feel good, and that's a great thing. So, and in the meantime, you're helping out other people. You never know what other people are going through as well. That's another thing that I think probably leads me to have this change throughout the years, is when you go through more life experiences, you start to realize how crazy life can be, and going through some crazy situations, you never know what another person's going through. Now, with that all being said, that person we're talking about, that doesn't give them the right to act in any type of negative way towards you. And if people do act in a negative type of way towards you, be quick and sharp to cut those people off, and be quick and sharp to do what's needed to those types of people. All right, so don't be a duck now. Don't be a sitting duck. But we're talking about good people that are out there that you could tell that they need a little push. Feels good to do it. So try that out. Maybe if you guys can. If you guys find an opportunity this upcoming week for that type of situation, maybe you do that, and you feel good about it. And maybe they take that situation and that scenario, and they branch off that, and it makes the world a little bit of a better place. Or maybe it's all a bunch of BS, and people have been saying that for years, and the world just is what it is, and the world's a crazy place. But if you could do a little bit of something to make it a little bit better, at least in your local community, it's not a bad thing. But as far as the overall world, I think it's going to take a little bit more than that. All right, guys. On that note, signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.